the first plane. Let's call it the quadrant 1. Having a plane of positive, positive, meaning that x is positive and y must also be positive. Such coordinates come out of this plane, where we look at positive and positive. I believe we can easily understand this. Furthermore, if we look at the different planes, we can see this being positive here. We say when we go here, it is always positive, and this is a negative. Meaning here, we look at our x component being negative, and then our y being positive, meaning this is a negative and a positive. That is how we represent coordinates under different grids. We will experience this as we go on. We shall try to find an understanding of the different planes and where we will pick our components. Now, after realizing that a coordinate, because we need to first understand what a coordinate is, after realizing that a coordinate is given by points of x and y, meaning they can be positive or negative. Remember, in mathematics, a positive and a negative does come into play, and they've got a very, very, very big influence, as we shall see later on. Like we say, a coordinate takes on x and a y component. That is how a coordinate is written. The coordinate is denoted in the form of x component and y component. Now, when we try to break down what we are going to look at under the geometry of lines in an interplay with coordinates, we are going to look at it as being something simple. Like I told you, a line is good by joining a point A to a point B. If these 2 points are joined from one to the other, and what makes a point, it is known by its coordinate coding, and its code is read in terms of x and y, and here in terms of x and y, which means point A to B can create a line. But this line can initially come from the point where we say this is x, the first x value, and this is y, the first y value. Where we pick the first values, the ones, it must be the same position. It is not right to pick here an x component, the first x component, and pick the next, the first y component this side. Components must all come from the same coordinate location. So we come and say this point, it can initiate from this being our initial point, denoted as 1, 1, and this being the final point, we can denote it as the second point of destination, being that we shall move from the first x coordinate to the second x coordinate. Now, this makes a line being broken down into the normal interplay. And when we look at this, the line becomes a little bit easier. For instance, if this is our line coming from A, which is with coordinates x1, y1, and coming to B with coordinates x2, y2, we can furthermore integrate and look at what can we get the midpoint of that line. Let us try and look at that. Midpoint. A midpoint, mid comes from the word middle, and when we say it comes from the word middle, it means for anything to be in the middle, it is divided into 2 equal parts. So since it is divided into 2 equal parts, now we need to find a way of finding out how can this line have what we call a midpoint. How can we divide this line into 2 equal parts? Knowing that this side is equal to the other, the only way we can divide it is getting it into its composition of components and then dividing them or halving them. In simple terms, for any midpoint, midpoint will always be given as the first x coordinate, which is x1, plus the second x coordinate divided by 2. Being that a midpoint is a point and it must be a coordinate, so it must have an x value and a y value. So it will also have y1 plus y2, but both of them divided by 2. This is a simple formula that is supposed to give us a midpoint. For example, we can look at a simple example which can be find the midpoint of A, which is 2, -1, and B, which is 3 and 7. For instance, those can be our points. But the simple procedure is always easy. Pick out point A, my student, give it its coordinates 2, -1. Denote this and call it x1 because it is your initial point. Then pull this out and denote it as y1. They all come from point A. And then you can look at point B, having coordinates 3, 7, and this is an x component. We say the first component is always an x component. And we can call this one x2, and then this one is called y2. So if those are the components given in their righteous forms and display, it is always easier to substitute into a formula by writing midpoint B, because the line runs from A to B is going to be given as x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2, then give it brackets. Then you will end up by saying the midpoint is to be given by, then go to x1. Our x1 value is a 2. So put here a 2 plus, then come to this, our x2 value is a 3. Then also divide by 2, a comma. Go to the y components. Our y1 value is a -1, which is going to be -1. Then plus our y2 value, which is a 7. Then plus a 7, then divided by 2, because we are looking for a midpoint. Why do we have these coordinates? It is because we are trying to divide them into 2. We are looking for the midpoint. We are looking for the middle point. We are looking for what happens in the middle. So we can continue. And when we continue, it is easier to see that we can divide these ones, and we can add, and we shall have 5 by 2. And this will be a negative. Now this becomes very tricky for my students. Many of them cannot easily see this. But these are signs, addition and subtraction can at times work hand in hand. So if this confuses you, it is very okay. Under integers, we understand that for any integer to be in existence, the sign in front of a number belongs to a number. That means we can alter the arrangement of numbers as long as we move signs in the right direction or in the right way. For instance, here, I'm entitled, or it is very okay to say that this is confusing me. But when I look at 7, there is a plus in front of the 7. That means this plus sign belongs to a 7. I can write a 7 first with its plus. Now I can write this second. Why? Because this is a 1, but having a negative in front of it. So it can be the same as -1, then divided by 2. Because in simple mathematics, addition and subtraction can always work hand in hand. They have an interchange where we can relate the two, but not assuming one to take the position of the other, each remaining in its position, but they can easily play around together. So we can continue, and this will give us the result as 5 out of 2, a comma, and this is going to be the 6 and the 2. Now, I cannot say that is my final answer. Why? This 6 is to be divisible by 2, meaning I can divide further. But this one, I can leave it in fractional form, or I can leave it in decimal form. But for midpoints, I always advise my students to leave the values in at least the decimal form. So this will be a 2.5, and this is going to be a 3. So this point becomes the coordinate of the midpoint.